see. All right. All right, and welcome back, everybody, to the Fast Break here on the Variety Sports Network. I'm your host, Shoot the Rock, and today we are joined by a special guest, my guy, Matt Too Icy, joining me here now for the third year in a row doing our bracket breakdown. Matt, thank you so much for coming on today, my man.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate the opportunity to get on another platform and talk about some more March Madness basketball. It's the best time of the year, and let's get into it. I'm excited.
Exactly. Can't beat it. Like I said, third year in a row we're doing this now. First year here on the Variety Sports Network. Very excited for that opportunity. UConn fans might be happy about that. You know, set 2 times we've done this, UConn's won the national title. Don't think that'll be the case this year, but you never know. Then once again, apologies for this being a day late, everybody. Your boy sadly wasn't hungover. I almost wish I was, but I intentionally was like, no, I can't go hard St. Patrick's Day weekend. I'm going to go to the A10 tournament, be a real sicko, watch some ball. But, you know, some sickness got your boy, so was down horrendous yesterday. But now I think we should be back. But in case, you know, anything goes astray, we got Matt here to pick up the pace. So Appreciate you once again for joining me for that reason.
Of course, man. Of course. And hey, I know getting sick is never a good thing, but to be honest, before the tournament starts, that's ideal because hopefully you're all rested and wealthy and healthy moving forward. So
yeah, I was going through it. I was like, I swear to God, if I'm like sick on Thursday, I'm gonna be so mad. But no, I think we're gonna be good. And also timed it perfectly where today was supposed to be my last day of work. It'll now be tomorrow. But so there we go. We're all good. Won't be killing the PTO. So We're going to start here. First, we're going to break down every region. But first, we're going to start with some bubble talk because maybe a bit controversially, we had the last team in the field is North Carolina, whose active AD, who got, I want to say it was like some multi-100,000, maybe not that much, but like definitely got a bonus for having his team make the tournament. They're the last team in. So Matt, I want to ask you kind of your thoughts there on the bubble. What are your thoughts with North Carolina being the last team in?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a surprise to say the least. As we've seen the last few days of everyone talking about this and breaking it down. I mean, I definitely thought they'd be on the bubble for sure. That was fine with me. But like the NCAA decision, their mantra kind of have always been, who did you play and who did you beat? And don't get me wrong, North Carolina played a great schedule, but like they went 1-9 in quad 1 games. And now looking at it, they went 2-10 versus teams that are currently in the field right now for March Madness. So my biggest snub is West Virginia. I mean, that is just crazy to me that they didn't make it. Yeah, I get they lost their best player in Tucker DeVries in December, but I mean, they still went into Iowa State, beat Iowa State. I don't know. It is ridiculous that UNC even made it. Bringing up that AD point is very true because there had to be a conversation. I know he came out and he was like, yeah, at the presser, he was like, he was like, yeah, I wasn't allowed to have any input on that. But it's like, come on. There was some swindling or finessing of some sort in there. So yeah, I definitely don't think they should have been in this spot. I definitely think it should have been West Virginia, but it is what it is. We get to see UNC play tonight, actually. So what about you?
I mean, like, let's be honest here. Yeah, he can step out of the room, but you're with this guy all week. Like, you're going to tell me, so, okay, say me and you, we're hanging out all week, and, you know, I'm the North Carolina AD. My team is never going to come up in conversation. Like, give me a break. Like, it's just a joke to me. I think it was even, I want to say they were 1-12 in quad 1 or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, it might even be worse than 1-9.
So really for me, like, do I feel bad for West Virginia? Yes. And honestly, just the using Tucker DeVries is just like injury is ridiculous. He hasn't played since December. They beat Kansas on the road without him. They have many good wins without him. So the fact that, like, that's just lazy in my opinion to use that as your excuse. The teams I really feel bad for, and I'm glad, I guess, they ended up winning their conference tournament, is a team like UC San Diego, a team like Drake, a team like VCU, that if they didn't win their conference tournament, they clearly would not have been in the field.
Yep.
And like these teams on the bubble here, looking at West Virginia, looking at like Indiana, Ohio State was horrible down the stretch. Boise State's even one I kind of feel bad for. Like they have no business being below Ohio State. Like these these power conference teams, they're the ones, they have the opportunity to play these high level teams all year, and they just didn't perform. But it's these teams that don't get those opportunities. If they would have been left out for North Carolina, I just would have been very frustrated. And it's a reason why, like, do not expand the NCAA tournament. We don't need to see these teams play anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we got on the first four. So let's now get into the South region to start here. So the South region is where we have Auburn as the 1 seed, Michigan State as the 2, Iowa State as the 3, and then Texas A&M as the 4. So Matt, what is your favorite game to watch here in the South region?
I think it's hands down Louisville Creighton. I might steal your thunder on that one, but I mean, these are both teams that, in my opinion, should have been ranked much higher, at least a few spots higher, and especially in Louisville. I mean, both programs have looked all elite all year, in my opinion. Creighton's definitely had some, up and downs, but I mean, they made it back to the Big East tournament, losing to St. John's. They were up 15 in that game at one point, and I mean, I don't know. That game is, and I'm so happy. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the first game of the tournament opening up on Thursday. Awesome. So I'm excited to see those two teams, those two powerhouses go head to head. So I'm going to steal the thunder and take the 8-9 on that one.
I like that's a good pick. Let's read some comments here first. We got Juicebox Season saying West Virginia robbed, and if they didn't take the player getting injured into account, then why not Indiana? Yeah, Indiana is one too. I think for them, like Mike Woodson saying he's stepping down probably hurt them. And granted, I don't think they even go on that run if he doesn't say that. I think that kind of like woke him up a little bit. But yeah, like I said, I more feel bad for kind of some of the mid-major teams that like weren't even in consideration. But yeah. And then Will Tabbert, why does it say LeBron James? Big LeBron fan, I guess. For me, yeah, like I said, I think it's that Louisville Creighton one. Another one, I'm really excited to watch Marquette against New Mexico. I think just the matchup between Cam Jones and Donovan Dent's going to be a really good one. And Marquette, if they win that game, they have a chance to do to Michigan State, kind of get some revenge on what happened a couple of years ago when Marquette was the 2, Michigan State was the 7, and Michigan State knocked them off. So it'll be interesting to see if Marquette can get by at New Mexico. They could potentially, return the favor, but I don't think it's been an easy task getting there by New Mexico. So I think that should be a really good one to watch as well.
Yeah, I do want to touch on one more game on this side with that Michigan and UC San Diego game. That kind of seems like, from what I've been seeing and everything like that, it kind of seems like that's the big upset game that a lot of people like. A lot of people like picking those 5-12 spots. And I mean, UC San Diego, I've seen something about like they're a top 5 team in turnovers, forcing turnovers, and Michigan is like a bottom 300 team in the nation in turning the ball over. UC San Diego actually has this kid, I forgot his name, but he's like
Tate Jones.
Yes. And he is like, I think that if UC San Diego can just keep playing at their pace and just force turnovers on the half court and full court and maybe, start picking up like pressing, I really think that could be an interesting game. I do still want to take Michigan coming high off that Big Ten tournament win, but that's a game just to keep an eye on. I was just throwing it out there as a game that we got to keep an eye on to watch.
Gotcha. Well, would you say that is your upset pick? That was going to be our next topic for this region. Would you say that's, your upset pick, or you, like you said, you're going to go with Michigan?
No, I'm actually going to go with Yale on this side against Texas A&M. We're talking about a great half-court offense and defense from Yale. They shoot the lights out on catch and shoot. I always butcher this kid's last name, John Polkadikis. Last year when they played Auburn.
Polkakidis.
See, that it just sounds better coming out of your mouth that way. Unpause. But he played 28 points against Auburn last year when they took him down. I think there's a potential they do it again. Yale plays a very simple game. They can let A&M kind of play hectic and make mistakes, as we've seen a couple times throughout this year. So I definitely think Yale is, as much as I would like to see that UC San Diego game, that Yale game I think is potential for a big upset.
Okay, so then that gets me here to Will Tabbert's question. who is the most likely 4-13 upset? Feels like there's been one every year recently. Would you say it is that Yale over A&M, or is there maybe another one we like down the road that we'll get to?
I'm gonna ride with Yale over Texas
Okay.
A&M. I mean, Yale they did it last year. Tell me why they can't do it again.
I agree. That was going to be my pick if you didn't go with UC San Diego, but I think
I
I'm
guess I
going to
kind of.
go with the Tritons. So looking at this, Michigan is only a 2.5 point favorite currently as it stands, which for reference, Louisville Creighton, the one that we're like really excited, a lot of people are saying is a coin flip. That one is also Louisville -2.5. So like the 8-9 and the 5-12 have the same spread. That's just remarkable to me. I know, like I said, I do feel like you mentioned, everyone's been saying they're going to take that one, but I feel like that's almost become such the popular pick where now it's going to be the other way, where like everyone's like, oh, everyone's taking it, so I'm not going to take it. Where now maybe it is the pick to take. I honestly feel
I
like.
I see what you're saying.
Go ahead. What do you have to say?
No, I was just gonna say I see what you're kind of saying. Like people are all kind of thinking the same. They're seeing all on social media. Everyone's hyping up this UC San Diego team, so maybe they're just gonna back Michigan with a 2.5. But then that makes room for value and for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of potential for UC San Diego to do it. So
Exactly. So that's kind of why I've now kind of talked myself into the other way. Um, and just I don't know, like I feel like the conference tournament champions usually don't do as well, especially on Sunday. Michigan's playing on Sunday now, have to turn around. I believe that game isn't till Friday, so they might still have an extra day. Or no, that game is on Thursday. Correct? Yes, that game is Thursday. And then another site here that I like to reference, Haslametrics. They have this as a 1 point win for Michigan. So like that's pretty much like it could be a coin flip. So I think I'm gonna go with UC San Diego as my upset pick there. So now moving on, who's kind of a dark horse team, a team you like to make, that's a non-top 4 seed to make the Sweet 16, or one of the non-top 2 seeds to make the Elite Eight?
non-top 2 seeds to make the Elite Eight. I'm gonna go with that first question of the 4 seed to make the or higher to make the Sweet 16. I hate to admit this, but I could see Creighton doing it. I mean, Kalkbrenner, that team is so good when they just feed him the ball. I mean, like their guard, Stephen Ashworth. I mean, he can pull that thing. He's such a small sized guard, undersized guard. But man, and they looked in that St. John's game in that first half. They looked like they were just controlling the entire pace of the game. And when Creighton can do that at a high level, we've seen it in years past. I getting past Louisville is going to be tough enough, but you just ride that momentum, get through Auburn. Maybe Auburn's a little lackadaisical. I mean, we've seen Auburn fall early like we did with last year. So I'm going to say Creighton to the Sweet 16 is not just, a pushover.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. I mean, that's an interesting one. I want to touch on this too. That Louisville Creighton game, granted, Louisville probably underseeded at an 8, and maybe you could even argue Creighton underseeded at a 9. That game's played in Lexington. So for me, that's one where if Louisville pulls it out, like Louisville playing Auburn in Lexington, that's
Yeah,
like, you got to think that's going to be a home game for the Cardinals.
correct. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Chucky Hepburn is definitely somebody that I turn the TV on to watch because he just gets buckets for Louisville. So that game, like we started this South region with, that game is just going to be the banger. Started off, set the tone for March. So I can't wait to see it.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, I might have to go with this UC San Diego team to make the Sweet 16. That might be my pick, just because, like you mentioned, I could also very well see Yale pulling off that upset over Texas A&M, and then seeing UC San Diego knock off Yale. And as much as it pains me to say, another one could be the winner of this San Diego State UNC game tonight, making the Sweet 16. That also wouldn't surprise me. I like Ole Miss. Malik Diaz really good big for them, but if UNC could finally, kind of put it all together here. I mean, they played Duke close. If it wasn't for a lane violation, they very easily could have won that game. And then Iowa State, they're dealing with some injuries as well. So I guess I'd say I'd look for either the 11 or 12 seed in this region to make the Sweet 16. But other than that, I think we're most likely looking at a lot of the top seeds advancing. So that gets, if you don't have anything else on that, then that gets me to, what is your pick here in the South region? Who do you have winning it and advancing to San Antonio?
I don't fade Izzo in March. Give me Michigan State. Give me Michigan State and the boys, the Sparties, man. I'm a guy who loves coaching, and I think coaching matters so much. And I know they didn't look the best against Wisconsin the other day, but I think Izzo's going to get them right these next few days before the tournament starts. And I really could see a world where they have a good run here into making it to the Final Four.
Gotcha. I like that pick, but sadly, I think I'm going to go with Auburn to knock off Michigan State in the Elite Eight. Just my thing with Michigan State is just their lack of three-point shooting. And while Auburn is kind of limping into the tournament here, I mean, they are the number 1 overall seed. I think they still deserved it despite, maybe Duke or I guess maybe even like Florida could have jumped them. But I just think they got too many weapons, especially Janai Broom. I mean, might be National Player of the Year. So I'm going to go with Auburn to win the South region.
All right. 1 and 2 coming out of the South is the predictions.
That's what we got.
Square as ever.
Yeah, for real. All right. And then we got 2 comments I want to read here quick. Will Taver, I feel like people always overlook the locations of games when making their picks. I love that shout is what he said. And then we got Juicebox season. Wisconsin and Denver having no legs in the Big Ten tourney is criminal, while other number 3 teams get Milwaukee, but not them. I agree with that take. We'll definitely touch on that when we get to the Badgers. All right, so now moving on to the West, going down. This region, we got Florida as the 1, St. John's as the 2, Texas Tech as the 3, and Maryland as the 4. Matt, what is your favorite game to watch here in the first round of the West region?
I want to turn this on you, as I felt like I stole a little bit of your thunder maybe in that South region. So I'm going to let you start this off, and I'll combat afterwards.
Okay. For me, this one might end up being my upset pick too. I'll have to think on it. I like Missouri Drake. I think that's going to be one that's going to be really fun. It's just complete contrast of styles. Drake is 364th, dead last in the nation in pace, 59.7 possessions per game. Missouri, on the other hand, top 100 in pace. Where'd they go? 79th, 69.9. So it's really just going to be 2 just contrasting styles. It's going to be interesting to see who can dominate the game. Whereas if Missouri, they're able to play fast, they're hitting their shots, they should probably cruise to victory in this one. But if Missouri isn't hitting, and Drake is able to slow the game down, really take possessions out of the game, it's one where I could see them pulling an upset. So for me, a contrast in styles like that is what really interests me.
I don't hate that. Yeah, that's a good pick. I've had Drake my finger hovering over them for a few nights here, but I can't commit to it. But I like watching that same idea of basketball when you have 2 teams that are just polar opposites. But for me, I'm gonna go Kansas and Arkansas.
That's a good pick.
Talking about coaching, back with Izzo. Now we're talking about Calipari. We're talking about John L. Davis, and we're talking about Kansas and Hunter Dickinson and Bill Self. This game is, I love these matchups that kind of have like storylines built into them without actually having like a storyline built into them. So, I mean, it's Kansas versus Arkansas. So it's a little name tongue tie there. So I think I'm going to have eyes on that game for sure. Is my most anticipated to look into.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching in that region, that group of 4 right there, just insane. Self versus Calipari. Calipari's first year at Arkansas, and then the winner takes on potentially Rick Pitino if he can get by Omaha, which I think he will. No problem. So for me, that's just going to be a star-studded matchup in both the first and second round. Yeah, I was between that or Missouri Drake, and then another one that maybe this is your upset pick here, which I guess technically wouldn't be an upset. Colorado State 3-point favorite against Memphis at the moment. I think that's going to be another good one to watch. So is that your upset pick here in the West, or are you going to go somewhere else?
I want to just – I can't stand UConn. It's not a big upset, but I'll take Oklahoma in this one over UConn. I mean, UConn has just looked flat as can all be. You got players trying to start arguments after games, after losses. The morale in the locker room, from outside perspective, like I can't imagine how bad it is in the locker room. So I'm going to take Oklahoma to beat UConn as my upset in this one.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's one where I'm 50-50. I'm also just like not super worried about who I pick because I think Florida's going to kill whoever by a million. And that's one where I think a lot of people are going to see, the UConn name and be like, "Oh, UConn, could they keep dancing?" I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to very much enjoy seeing them lose. I know UConn fans love coming at me on Twitter, but for how much they've just been, and deservedly so, boasting about being two-time champions, them getting knocked off finally, I'm going to love to see it. And I can't wait for someone to hit Dan Hurley with the 2 rings, which would be funny if it was Florida, just because they were the previous team to go back-to-back before UConn. So that would be a bit of irony there. So, yeah, that should be a good one. For me, I think it probably is. Or sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, can we touch on just the West in general? I've been saying the West is the best. This is the deepest region. I had before, I'm not a big guy who likes to maybe play a bracket out in his head before it's actually put out. So I really don't have a good idea of where a lot of teams are going. But if you were to ask me 4 or 5 teams that I saw in the Elite Eight, I was going to say Texas Tech. I was going to say St. John's. I was going to say Maryland, and I was going to say Florida. And a team like UConn is not someone to just overlook. So, I mean, there's 4 or 5 teams in here that right off the get-go, I was like, I could see 5 of these teams being in the Elite Eight. But unfortunately, they're all in just a grueler of a bloodbath in the West. I mean, I think we can all agree the West is the powerhouse region for sure.
Oh, I know. Maryland was definitely a team that I was going to sleep or have, maybe make the Final Four. But against Florida, I just don't think I can do it.
Can't fathom it. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. Definitely pretty loaded region there. For me, like I said, I think I am just going to go with Colorado State, even though maybe it's technically betting wise, not an upset seed wise is. I think that's going to be my pick. Just no Tyrese Hunter for Memphis. I think it's going to be a key loss, and that's so tough for them because Memphis was a team that I really did enjoy watching this year. PJ Haggerty's just an absolute bucket, and they're a team that I think when fully healthy, they play to the level of their competition. That's why I feel like some of their games in the American are a little bit closer than they should be. But I mean, look at they went to the championship game in Maui. Their team, they have a high ceiling, but I just think that injury is going to hurt them a lot. So I'm going to go with Colorado State as my upset pick there in the West region. So then moving on, we have then our dark horse pick. I know you just kind of mentioned it. Maybe you don't have one. But do you have a team that's not top 4 that's going to make the Sweet 16, or maybe do you see a Texas Tech or Maryland? Do you see them making the Elite Eight?
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll go more for that Elite Eight talk because I don't think I see an upset team here. I mean, you either got to run into Florida, you either got to run into the Terps, you got to run into the Red Raiders, or it's Rick Pitino and the Johnnies who just does it every year. So, but I'm going to go with Texas Tech here because looking at these top 4 seeds and who I'm a little more scared to play, I'd be a little bit more scared right now to play Florida. I understand St. John's, but I think there's a lot of question marks with St. John's. They're a great defensive team, and they're a great free throw shooting team. It's just that perimeter shooting that scares me a little bit. The ability for a guy to just kind of go off for them, just, kind of go unconscious, that scares me. So I'm going to go Texas Tech, and I'm going to have them playing Florida in the Elite Eight.
I like that. I'm thinking the exact same thing. St. John's, just their lack of 3-point shooting does scare me a little bit, but it's the last 3 teams to go to the Final Four that shot under 30% from, or under 40% from 3 were all coached by Rick Pitino. So if there's a guy I can figure out, it's him. But I am just really high on this Texas Tech team. I mean, they're the only team to beat Houston in the Big 12 this year. They did have some injuries that they're dealing with, but now, finally starting to get healthy. Really like JT Toppin. So I agree. I'm going with Texas Tech against Florida in the Elite Eight. And then who do you have to win that matchup?
I'm going to go Florida. One of our buddies we both know, shout out JJ. He's kind of been high on Florida all year, and I've just been like, no, and just denying. And I can't deny anymore. They are just head and heels like a lot better in so many facets. Sorry, excuse me. Than so many of these teams. I mean, this side of the bracket, like we said, is a grueler. So I don't think they're head above heels better than maybe like a St. John's or a Texas Tech. But I think they have enough firepower to get it done. And the bigs they have that they can just throw at you is ridiculous. They have so many. Don't they have a guy that's like 7'8"? He don't even play.
Yeah, he doesn't even play, but yeah, it's like Oliver Giroux or something. He's like 7'9".
Like if you're getting killed in the paint, maybe like at halftime down like 12 or 16, just put him in there. He's a big body. Like I don't know about like coaching. I'm not no coach, but I'll take Florida and the Gators to win this West region. What about you?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think there's anyone that's going to be able to stop Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin. Just one of the best backcourts, if not the best backcourt in the country. And then, with Alex Condon is such a solid big. This is just overall very well-rounded team. They've already, gone on the road and beat Auburn on the road this year. Just won the SEC championship. Like I said, usually those teams don't fare as well, but I think they're just playing such good ball, especially at the right time. I have a hard time seeing anyone knock off the Gators. So now we move on to the East, flipping over to the other side of the bracket. We have Duke as the 1, Alabama as the 2, Wisconsin as the 3, and then Arizona as the 4. What is your favorite game to watch in the first round here of this West region? Or East region, my apologies.
I think it's got to be BYU VCU for me. I mean, like you mentioned with that VCU team earlier when we were talking about UNC, like if they don't win that A10, I mean, I don't think they get a bid in. So and BYU, I mean, you talk about kings of the upset last year, didn't they? How far did they go last year?
No, last year they got upset by Duquesne. They're a team I thought was going to go deep. And last year they lost to an A10 team. They now have to face one again.
They did. So maybe they get their lick back here, but I think BYU, VCU, I think it's going to be, BYU is a team who likes to play at their type of pace and shoot the 3-ball. They got shooters all over the place. And then VCU kind of like caught a little bit of the A10. They're just a gritty team. So I think this is the game that I'm going to have my most eyes on in the East region. Don't say Duke for yours, please. Don't say Duke.
No, why would I say that? Why would I want to watch them beat up on a 16 seed? That's not what I'm saying. No, for me, I'm going – that's a good one. I'm also probably going the 7-10 again. I like St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. Another one that's a bit of a contrast to styles. Vandy likes to play fast. VC or St. Mary's a little bit more of a muck-it-up kind of team. Augustus Marcellonis is still there. I feel like St. Mary's is always a very just kind of slept-on team. Like Gonzaga gets all the hype from the WCC, but St. Mary's is usually find themselves there every year. Did lose to Gonzaga in the WCC title game, but beat them twice in the regular season. This is one where, like I said, last year St. Mary's got upset. I think this year they bounce back, and I think they're capable of hanging with a team like Vanderbilt. Could they maybe then even, contrast styles, muck it up against Alabama? We'll have to see. But I'm really excited for that St. Mary's and Vanderbilt game. So then, what do you like for your upset pick in this region? Is it that BYU VCU game, or is there another one that you like?
Give me Liberty. I like Liberty over Oregon in this spot, man. I haven't been high on Oregon all year, if we're being frank. They're a good free throw shooting team, and that's kind of gotten them a lot of wins this year just due to that. They're a top 20 team in the nation in free throw shooting. But the problem is they foul just as much as they get to the line themselves. They don't shoot the 3-ball good at all. Liberty is top 5 in 3-point percentage as a team at almost 40%, which is kind of crazy when I was looking at that last night when I was looking at this game. 40% as a team from 3, that is ridiculous. I mean, like, there's teams in the NBA that aren't even shooting over 35. So obviously different leagues. But give me Liberty in this one as an upset. And I'm not high on Oregon. I'm kind of an Oregon hater in terms of men's basketball. So I'm going to take Liberty in this spot as an upset.
This is one there's a lot that I like in this region. I'm going to be honest, like, I could see any 3 of BYU, VCU, or Wisconsin, any 3 of those teams in the Elite 8. Like, I literally don't know who I'm going to take in that little quad there. At times I've picked Liberty, but I don't know. I do like Oregon. I do like Nate Biddle. I think he's a really good big. Jackson Shellstad has been a good guard for him as well. Also, interesting stat, Dana Altman at Oregon has never lost in the first round.
Did see
And has
that.
even made a Final Four. So he's kind of underrated coach in March. But for me, I might be going with the game next to it. I think I'm like Akron over Arizona.
Oh, that's
Zips, man. I don't even know if this is the best team they've had, but for the third time in 4 years now, they're in the NCAA tournament. John Gross had to beat his brother Travis Steele in the MAC title game. That was a crazy ending, and that one was really good win.
Yeah.
They've only lost once since December 30th. Like, they're a really good team. And just my thing is, while Caleb Love is a really talented player, he sometimes just drops absolute stinkers where I don't know if you could trust him. So for me, I like Akron to take that one. And honestly, I might have Akron in the Sweet 16 because I could see them like having to face if they're playing Liberty. I like Akron to knock off Liberty. It's like you mentioned, Liberty does stroke the thing from three, pause, but they like really struggle at the free throw line, which is like hilarious to me. So that's my only maybe knock with Liberty, where I don't know if like I said, I could see them beating Oregon, but I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of games in this region that I'm just really like struggling with, which I think does pair really well for Duke. But yeah.
But yeah,
what do you got?
On that Liberty Oregon situation. That's why I kind of want to throw that point out there, because I feel like it's a little bit of two contrasting teams in terms of an Oregon team that shoots the lights out of the free throw line, but they also foul a lot. Yes, Liberty is a piss poor free throw shooting team, but if you're getting a lot of attempts, eventually they're going to start going in. So I think it's just like a contrast of like two fun styles to watch. But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And then to touch on that Arizona Akron game, I mean, Caleb Love he's the type of guy, like you said, he can shoot you in a game just as fast as he can shoot you out of a game. So I definitely like that take with the Akron Zips.
Yeah, my thing too. While Arizona could win that game, I think just size wise, they do dominate that sense. So if they just kind of bully Akron, they could definitely still win that game. But for me, I'm gonna go with Akron as my pick. But like I said, there's so many I really think any team 11 through 13. And honestly, getting back, we'll touch on some previous comments here. What Juicebox season was saying earlier, Wisconsin have to play in Denver. It's like the third game of the day on Thursday after just playing on Sunday. Short rest, playing at altitude. Montana, shorter drive for them. I don't think there's going to be a ton of Montana fans there by any means, but they're probably a little bit more adjusted to that altitude, playing in the big sky. I think that's where things get interesting. And that's also where I think it's interesting for like VCU, touch on them. Because like I said, I was watching a lot of them at the A10 tournament this week. They like to pick you up 94 feet all game. Max Shulga, Joe Bamasil, they can do that. But the thing is, them too playing on Sunday and now having to play Thursday at altitude against a BYU team that is used to that altitude. I think that's where it gets interesting there. So I think if they can knock off BYU, like I said, I could see them playing in the Elite Eight. But if they also lose that first game, would not surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on that Wisconsin too, especially coming off an emotional loss in the Big Ten championship. I mean, it looked like at some point they had that game in locks. I mean, Michigan came back and started getting hot. So, I mean, especially, traveling an emotional loss and then having to travel to altitude. I've always played those favorites in football, like, a road dog loses and has to travel and it's an emotional loss type of thing. Not to be petty to any Bears fans out there, but Washington had to travel to Washington, emotional loss, Hail Mary, and then, went on a 10-game losing streak. So, but yeah, Wisconsin, it definitely could get it done. I mean, they should beat a Montana team, but yeah, a lot of question marks around it for sure.
I did also see Montana's like the luckiest team or something, some metric. So that too is why I think Wisconsin will be fine, but I really think the second game is where that could get to them and why I could see a BYU or a VCU going on a run here. So I've kind of stolen the thunder a little bit, kind of taking both like VCU and Akron as potentially some dark horse teams for me. But who do you have as your dark horse here to make the second weekend in this East region?
I like Vanderbilt a lot, man. Vanderbilt plays in a tough SEC. I mean, tough strength of schedule this year. And they're a little lackluster in their last 10, so that scares me. I believe they're 4-6 in their last 10. So that's definitely something that scares me. But I think if you can get past the St. Mary's team, yes, I know we're kind of only going into the second week here or second game round of 32 here, but I definitely don't see them getting past Bama. But Vandy is a team I definitely think could upset St. Mary's.
Gotcha. You have any low seeds that you think could make a Sweet 16, or you like the top 4 out
I like
in
top 4. Give me Bama or
top
Duke.
4?
This
Okay.
region, like you kind of said, it's kind of very broad, open. I guess you would say the door's kind of open. Sorry, the other way around. The door's kind of closed for a little bit because I think Duke is elite and I think Bama is elite. The pace of play they play at, and obviously Duke with Cooper Flag and them boys. So I'm not going to have a pick on this one. So I'll let you take the reins with that.
Gotcha. Honestly, like I'm kind of low on Bama just because at times like they're another team when their shots aren't dropping that I think that could lose them a game, especially in March. You go cold. Originally, I was even like, oh, could St. Mary's knock? I don't think St. Mary's could knock them off, but that's what I'm saying is like a team like VCU is like really going to slow them down, or a team like BYU. You know, BYU's playing really good ball right now. BYU could shoot, like can keep up at that pace with Alabama, where I don't think Alabama can shoot BYU out of the game.
Yep.
So that's why for me, I'm really struggling who I'm going to take in to be facing Duke in the Elite Eight, but I like Duke to go to the Elite Eight. Like I said, I think, they're obviously going to cruise round 1, should cruise against, either Josh Hubbard, Mississippi State, or former Blue Devil, Jeremy Roach and Baylor. VJ Edgecombe, also really good guard for Baylor, probably going to be like top 5 pick. But then I have Duke knocking off. If it is somehow Alabama that gets there, like Alabama is the 2 seed. I wanted Duke to play. But like I said, for me, you know what? Because like I said, I think I've been so chalky so far. I'm now putting all 3 1 seeds through. Give me Duke over BYU in the Elite Eight to make the Final 4. Are you also going with the Blue Devils, or who are you going with?
I'm gonna also go with the Blue Devils out of this region for sure. I've gone. Who did I pick first round?
You did take a 2 seed. I
took a 2 seed,
and then I took a Texas State, and then you got Florida.
And now now I'm gonna go with Duke. So it's not all ones on this side. So yeah, but I am gonna go with the Duke. I am gonna go with Duke.
Duke over Bama.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. And now we get to the final region, the Midwest here. We got Houston as the 1, Tennessee as the 2, Kentucky as the 3, Purdue as the 4. And then I do just want to highlight Gonzaga is an 8 seed. They're a top 10 team in KenPom this year. So Houston maybe got a little bit of a tough draw there. What is your favorite first round matchup in this one?
First round matchup, give me 5-12 Clemson McNeese.
That's a good one.
You can caveat more. I'm sure you know a little bit more about this matchup than I do. Just race off face value. But McNeese State, I mean, I heard their name for the first time last year. Exciting young team. Kind of returned some players back. Now they were playing Clemson, a team that I think was a little bit overhyped, in my opinion, in the ACC this year. Yes, they went 18-2, and the record against top 25 teams was only 2-1 this year. Nothing crazy. Strength of schedule was like a 70 overall in the league. They allow a lot of teams to shoot the 3 ball and miss it, but McNeese can shoot 3 ball and make it. I see a lot of people taking McNeese. It kind of touches back to that 5-12 when we talked about the first region in the South, talking about a lot of upset potential there in the Michigan game. So I think this is another one where there's a lot of upset potential, and I'm going to have my eyes on this one for sure.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was going to be my pick if you didn't take it. I guess I'll go with that Gonzaga Georgia game then. I could either that or UCLA, Utah State. I think will both be good ones. Asa Newell, really fun guard to watch for Georgia, freshman. He's probably going to be a very high pick, could be a lottery pick. And like I mentioned, Gonzaga, their predictive metrics are really high. That's why, like I said, they could be a, maybe they could be an Elite 8 team. We'll have to see. And, they have, Ryan Nembhard still there. Graham Ike is one of the better bigs in college basketball. I think that should be a good one where Gonzaga get by Georgia. Could they maybe upset Houston? I could see it, but like I said, it's. I don't think Georgia's going to be this easy out. Where I think a lot of people are just kind of assuming Gonzaga's going to move on. Granted, they have made, I forget if it's 9 or 10 straight Sweet 16s. I think we'll see. That stretch could continue this year. Would not surprise me honestly, but also I could see anything beforehand. So I'm gonna go with Gonzaga and Georgia.
To ask a question, you said Houston's made Sweet 16?
No, Gonzaga's made 9 straight Sweet 16s, I believe.
Okay. That's an interesting fact. I like that. Or
maybe is it 10? Let me look that up real quick. While I'm looking that up, what's your upset pick in this region?
I don't ever trust Purdue. I won't trust Purdue unless they have a 7'2" guy named Zach Edey. So I'm gonna go upset pick his High Point here. I honestly can't tell you if I've watched a High Point game all season. I know I had it on. I want to say 2.5 weeks ago. Me and my dad were laying down or just chilling, watching some ball, and we threw that game on. I definitely want to say I was mentally checked on that game watching TikTok. So, but I am going to say High Point over Purdue because I just never trust Purdue. I also hate Braden Smith, full-time Braden Smith hater over here. So I'll take High Point, I guess, just based off hating metrics.
Going back to one of Will's comments earlier, what do you think's the most likely 4-13? I might like the 4-13s more than the 5-12s this year. Literally outside of Maryland Grand Canyon, I could see all 3-13s winning this game. Keza Gifa, really fun guy to watch for High Point. High Point was a really good team last year, and they had the Big South tournament at their home gym. They just got upset by Longwood, one of my favorite schools. So like they've had a really solid program for a couple of years now, and they're a pretty good shooting team. It's just and honestly, I think a lot of times you have a team where when they go on a deep run, the next year they're kind of keen for a letdown. Granted, the tournament got canceled after Virginia won the national title, but then the following 2021 they lost the first round, and I could kind of see Purdue going on that same kind of arc where it's lose to the 16, then go to the national championship game, and then get upset again the first. Like Purdue, kind of, let's be honest, Purdue's been one of those programs that has been very keen to upsets. Even before losing to the 16 the year before, they lost to St. Peter's, who was a 15. And granted, it wasn't a Sweet 16, but they lost to a 15 seed. So like they've been losing to some pretty low seeds. For them to lose to High Point would not surprise me. That or it's another one. I could see McNeese. I think, though, that's a little bit of a last year, same thing. Like, got burned by McNeese, was very high on McNeese, and then they lost again. So, I don't know. Looking at spreads here, Clemson's 7.5 against McNeese and Purdue's 9.5 against High Point. So, we'll have to see. I could see probably one of those as my upset pick, though. And then what we got here, Juicebox Season says Kentucky versus Illinois would be a very fun game to watch in the second round. That's another one, though. I don't even know if we're going to get that. Like, I could see Illinois is very streaky. I could see.
I was just gonna butt in real quick for a second and be like,
Hey,
I don't think it's crazy to write Texas or Xavier off this, to be honest. Like Illinois' up and downs all year has been a problem for them. I mean, their ceiling looked immaculate about 6 weeks ago, but recently they look very flat and they cannot shoot the three ball. They are one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the nation, and it shows night in and night out. So as much as I do agree, Bobby, I think that would be an amazing matchup, Illinois versus Kentucky. I don't even know if Illinois gets out of the first round.
And honestly, I don't think it will happen, but like the 14 that I'm seeing most likely to win is probably Troy, just because they're another team could kind of muck it up. And granted, new coach now, Mark Pope, I really like what he's done with this Kentucky team, but they have kind of still had these consistent stretches. I believe Lamont Butler should be good to play for them, but I don't know, like Troy maybe could take down Kentucky as well. So it's one where, I would love to see that game, but I don't know if we get it. I literally could see, I think we're most likely to see it, but I could see like Xavier versus Kentucky, and then maybe Xavier knocks off Kentucky, gets to the Sweet 16.
I was just going to say Texas played Kentucky this year, and Texas beat them. I get it was at home for Texas, but I mean, I don't know. It should be interesting.
So what do you have as your dark horse? I think you said, would Clemson be that dark horse, or do you have another 5 seed or lower making the Sweet 16?
I'm gonna touch and copycat off your back on this. I don't ever trust Houston in the tournament, so I'm gonna do a little variation of this question. Houston's not making it to the Sweet 16. I'm gonna tell you that right now, and it's gonna be Gonzaga that gets there.
Yeah, you stole my pick.
We can agree.
I agree. Honestly, the winner of that game might go to the Final Four.
Yes.
It would not surprise me.
No, that game is going to be such a banger. And I never trust Houston. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. They every year in and year out, they're just elite in the Big 12. They're amazing. They're always a top seed. And then they just fall flat in the tournament sometimes. So I really like Gonzaga to make it. So I'm glad we both agreed on that one. I didn't want to
Last year was really injuries that kind of screwed them in that
For
Duke game,
sure.
and they're once again kind of injured now too. But the thing is, though, they're just so down. Like I said, they lost one game in the Big 12. They've just run through the Big 12.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I don't want to pick all one seeds. That's the thing. But like, if there ever was a year two, it might be this year. It might, like, everyone was kind of clowning Jay Williams for picking all ones and twos in the Elite Eight. And at first I was too, but then the more I looked at the bracket, I'm like, this might be the year. But if there's one,
go ahead.
If there's one that I'm probably going to pick to lose, it's probably going to be Houston. And as much as, like I said, it's just the predictive metrics are so high in Gonzaga, where I feel like at times they've kind of like laid an egg.
Oh yeah.
But I think they win that game, and like I said, I could see them in the sweets in the Final Four. But I don't know, like Clemson can match up well with Gonzaga. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna touch on the fact that I don't even think it's Houston, even if they get past Gonzaga. I think Tennessee is gonna run this entire Midwest. I think Tennessee, with as much as I cannot stand Zakai Ziegler, I mean, just the way he plays, but he plays with a lot of passion, so I respect that. I'm gonna go with Tennessee and Chaz Lanier and them boys. Like I think Tennessee, I think they had the best two spot in terms of landing and where to land in what region. So I'm gonna take Tennessee to win the Midwest outright. And I don't even know if they play Houston in the Elite Eight. It could be Gonzaga, could be Clemson. I mean, and I hate Purdue, but you can't write off Purdue either. So I'm gonna put my prediction in now. Tennessee beats Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
Gonzaga. Okay, we got, like Will was saying, if Roberts is out for Houston, they're in trouble, and he also has the Zags. Bobby says Clemson going to the Sweet 16. If they beat that game, Clemson to the Final Four.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I think he's talked me into it. I'm going Gonzaga, Clemson, Sweet 16. Clemson beats them. And then I think, like I said, I wanted to pick against I don't trust Tennessee. That's the thing. But like you said, I do think they got a good spot. Give me Clemson over Tennessee. Clemson over Tennessee to make the Elite. Like I said, this is the one region where I'm going to pick not the ones. I picked 3 1 seeds. I have to go with someone else. Originally, I went with Gonzaga. Like I said, just because at times this year, I don't think they've been great.
Yeah, their lows
and just imagine that. 2-8 after the ACC, down year. 2 ACC teams in the Final Four for me. We'll have to see what happens. So that gets us here to our Final Four. For you, you have Michigan State against Florida. I have Auburn against Florida. And then you have Duke, Tennessee. I have Duke, Clemson. So give me who's winning the national championship and who are they taking down?
Florida is beating Derek's Duke in the national championship. I hate to say it, but I don't think
you're a Duke guy.
I like Duke. I'm not like a Duke guy though. Like I will never claim I'm a Duke guy. I just support Duke. I like the program, always have. But in this spot, Florida just runs teams out of the water, and I gotta go Florida over Duke, and I can't take Michigan State. I mean, I love Izzo, but they might lose by 25 to Florida. So Florida, Duke, and then I had Duke and Tennessee. Yeah, I like you said, I still have a lot of question marks with Tennessee, but when they're firing, they are firing. So I'll take Duke, or I will take Florida over Duke.
Florida. Gotcha. And if you guys here in the chat, feel free to drop your picks. We'll react to some of them. I'm agreeing with you. I like Duke versus Florida in the championship game. Like I mentioned, Florida's already beat Auburn this year, and since they are kind of backing into the tournament here a little bit, I think they do right it in their region. Just since I kind of like some of their matchups, I just think Florida is probably the hottest team in the country. And then I have Duke getting revenge over Clemson. Neutral site, so hopefully the mop job's a little bit better, but also I don't know if it's going to be close down the stretch. I mean, Clemson couldn't beat Louisville. Like Louisville beat Clemson, and then Duke without Cooper Flag kind of rolled by Louisville. So give me Duke, and then I'm going to go with the Blue Devils. I'm going to be a homer. I think the stars are kind of aligning here. Last time the ACC champion won the national championship, 2015 Duke.
Yeah.
So and then a little bit deeper cut here. Last time that the college football expanded their championship, Ohio State won. That was 2015. Duke won the national championship that year. 2025 college football expands their national championship, 12 teams. Guess who won? Ohio State. Guess who's going to win the basketball championship this year? Duke. Give me repeat history. Going to be a little bit of a homer with both my squads there. We got, looking at some other picks, Will has Duke over Florida, so he agrees with us, Duke and Florida in the national title game.
Flag drop 24-12. Wow. Well, okay.
And then final four, we got from Juice Box season, Michigan State, Florida, Duke, Clemson. So he kind of agrees with both of us. So he's got your Michigan State over Auburn. He's got my Clemson over Tennessee. And then Will also dropping that ACC tournament fact. So I think that's all we got on the bracket. And then one thing Will did say he wanted to hear. Do you have any thoughts on Darian DeVries going to Indiana?
Tucker DeVries, you're headed to Indiana, buddy. I saw that rumor. It just actually came out not too long ago about possible in the transfer portal with him going down for West Virginia. Would have loved to see them make it, to touch back at what we started with the beginning of this podcast over UNC. But I think that game's about to tip off here soon, so I'm definitely going to want to go watch that.
I was pissed. I accidentally froze the South Alabama or the Alabama State. I froze that game. I didn't realize I hit pause. They ended up winning by 2.
No.
But yeah, so now I'm trying to play with it here. I think it looks like we haven't got tip off yet. Just turned it on. Let's see here. Yeah, Alabama State knocked off St. Francis by 2, and then we're about to tip off. Says 8. Yeah, they're showing the starting lineup, so that game is about to tip here. UNC San Diego State. So ending this in perfect time.
Perfect time.
I agree. I really like. Yeah, Will said Alabama State won with half a second left. Damn it. That's the only tough part about this show. Sometimes you miss stuff, but that's okay. This has been a lot of fun. I like that hire. I think, to me, though, it says Ben McCollum, get ready to learn Iowa Hawkeye, because I kind of thought it was going to be either DeVries, the previous Drake coach here, went to West Virginia for a year. Like I said, was kind of odd that he, was there for 1 year and then was like, all right, I'm taking a different job.
Yeah.
And yeah, tough stretch here of days for West Virginia, missing the tournament. Now their coach leaves, but they'll figure it out. So yeah, I like the hire for Indiana. I think it's one that their fans should be happy with. I know they keep saying, "Oh, Brad Stevens," they're never getting Brad Stevens.
Not happening. I saw that rumor too. Not happening.
Never. I think you could give him unlimited money. I think he's just fine being in the front office for what I think is going to be the 2-time defending NBA champion in the Celtics. So yeah, I like the hire for Indiana. So I think that wraps it up. Unless you got anything else here you want to touch on, quick, Matt.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite to the Variety Sports Network for my first official episode with the Fast Break. And I hopefully we can keep doing this more often, man. I'm glad we've gone 3 years in a row, man. We're consistent with something.
There you go. Finally something we're consistent doing it. It's March Madness. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe here on Variety Sports Network on YouTube. They're also running a bracket challenge. I believe that should be linked. If it's not, definitely check out the Twitter. Can potentially win a $50 gift card to Home Field Apparel for the winner of the group. So make sure to join that. Especially, we just gave you the insight. We just gave you the script. So if you follow
exactly, don't take any of my picks. But yes, but definitely join the bracket with Variety Sports Network. $50 gift card in play. But don't take my picks. I'm just here to talk ball.
So that's gonna wrap it up. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you everyone for watching. Peace.